German physicist known as Eugen Goldstein discovered the protons. Eugen Goldstein performed cathode ray tube experiment, and on the basis of cathode ray tube experiment, Eugen Goldstein noticed or discovered that there are some positive rays which were passed through a perforated cathode, and he gave those name to these positive rays as a channel rays or canal rays. Later on, Rutherford with gold foil experiment concluded that the channel or the canal rays which are produced from the hydrogen atom are basically protons, and he gave them to these rays as proton rays. So now, dear student, let us discuss about the construction of the Goldstein experiment, that how Goldstein discovered the protons in cathode ray tube. Dear student, cathode ray tube is basically a vacuum tube. It is highly evacuated glass tube. The cathode ray tube is evacuated by a vacuum pump. The vacuum pump basically removes the air or any other unwanted gas molecule from the chamber of the cathode ray tube or from the uh, uh, from the inside of the cathode ray tube. So the pressure usually is kept in cathode ray tube is around 0.01 mm of Hg, or it is around 10 to the power -4 torrs. Cathode ray tubes has two metallic files or metallic plates, and these plates are known as electrode. Goldstein used a perforated electrode. Electrode was basically has some free spacing or some areas which were perforated, and he gave name to this electrode as perforated electrode, whereas the other electrode which was used by Goldstein was a normal solid metal foil electrode. Another interesting point to notice here is that Goldstein keep polished or kept a fluorescent screen behind the perforated electrode, and the fluorescent screen was made up of zinc sulfate. Dear student, please keep in mind that the role of fluorescent screen is very important in cathode ray tube experiments, because the fluorescent screen just glow up when any kind of radiation fall on the fluorescent screen, and this glow basically indicate the interactions of radiation inside the cathode ray tube or production of radiations inside the cathode ray tube. So usually there are different types of fluorescent screens which are used in cathode ray tubes. Some of these are basically paintings of phosphorus, and there may be a zinc oxide, but Goldstein used zinc sulfate as a fluorescent screen or painting for the fluorescence or for the glow. So now both the electrodes, perforated electrode and cathode, are not useful until they are connected with a potential source or with a high power battery. The electrode, if the battery has two terminals. One terminal is known as a negative terminal. Negative terminal is electron sufficient terminal. It has enough electron and it gives electrons, whereas the positive terminal of the battery is electron deficient terminal. So it's required every time electron, it basically suck electrons from any kind of contact or from any kind of electrical connection. So now the electrode which is connected with the negative terminal of the battery, such kind of electrode is known as cathode. So Goldstein basically connect the perforated electrode with negative terminal of the battery, and he give name to this electrode as a perforated cathode. Basically, cathode is an electrode which have a negative charge on it. So when the negative terminal of the battery is connected with a cathode, negative charges will be produced on the cathode. And similarly, please keep in mind, students, the Goldstein used the hydrogen gas inside the cathode ray tube for the production of the for the production of canal or channel rays. The positive terminal of the battery was connected with this electrode, and this electrode, due to connection of the positive terminal of the battery, this electrode was known as an anode. Anode is electrode which basically attract the negative charge. Basically, it sucks the negative charge, whereas the cathode is electrode which give the electrons inside the cathode ray tube. Now, dear student, keep in mind that when the high potential is applied, when Goldstein applied potential around between 5 kilovolts to 50 kilovolts, Goldstein noticed that cathode rays were produced from the cathode and they travel toward the positively charged anode. Since you know that cathode rays are based on negatively charged electrons, so opposite charges basically attract each other. The electron from the cathode ray tube will go toward the anode. From the cathode will go toward the anode of the cathode ray tube. Now, since the Goldstein used the hydrogen gas inside the cathode ray tube, and keep in mind that hydrogen is always gas is always present in diatomic form, or two hydrogen atoms are usually present. It is present in form of H2. It will never be present in form of H. So this type of hydrogen, the bonding between the hydrogen will be intermolecular covalent bonding. So this kind of hydrogen gas will be present in this form. So there will be a large amount of the hydrogen molecule inside the cathode ray tube. So now Goldstein noticed that when the cathode rays move from perforated cathode toward the anode, the cathode rays will, due to high energy, they will break the bond between the hydrogen atom, and due to breakage of bond, hydrogen atom will be converted into hydrogen with two electrons, and this will be negative charge, okay, and like this will be negative charge, and as well as hydrogen nucleus, it will be positively charged proton or hydrogen nucleus, okay. Let me explain this with atomic structure. Hydrogen atom has a nucleus, and nucleus of hydrogen atom has a proton. It has one electron which revolves around the nucleus in an orbit. Okay, this is electron. So the bonding between the hydrogen atom, they are basically forming a diatomic molecule. So the bonding between hydrogen atom is covalent. So they will be they will bond each other. Hydrogen atom will bond each other like this. This is the proton of hydrogen atom, and this is electron of the hydrogen. This will be a bonding of hydrogen atom. Now, when the cathode rays basically fall on the hydrogen atom with bonded hydrogen molecule, so the cathode rays basically are based on highly energetic electrons. They will cause the breakage of bond, and hydrogen atom will be basically converted in some of the hydrogen molecule will be basically converted with hydrogen having hydrogen atom with having additional electrons, and as well as nucleus of hydrogen atom with only one proton. Okay, so this hydrogen atom with additional electron is basically is negative charge. It is negative charge, whereas the nucleus of hydrogen atom was positively charged. Okay, so if we write them inside the cathode ray tube, so like this hydrogen atom H2 hydrogen ion with two electrons. It has negative charge, so it will basically opposite charges attract each other. So the nitrogen negative ion will move toward the anode. Okay, like this hydrogen with two electrons, it will move toward the anode. Okay, whereas the hydrogen atom, whereas the nucleus of the hydrogen atom, which is basically it is a proton, so it has a positive charge, so it will move toward the negative charge cathode, and it will pass through the perforation of the cathode and will cause a glow somewhere on the fluorescent screen. Similarly, continuously the protons or nucleus of the hydrogen atom will basically pass through the perforation of the cathode, and they will fall on the fluorescent screen. So the student continues, protons will fall on the fluorescent screen, and fluorescent screen basically it just turn into, or it's glow into reddish brown color. The Goldstein named these radiation positively charged radiations, and he gave them a name as canal rays or channel rays. Canal rays, canal rays, and in English he named these rays as channel rays. The word canal in German mean that perforation, so these were named as perforated rays or channel rays. Channel is also a kind of perforation, or it's the second name of perforation. So this was basically, in this way, the canal rays or channel rays were discovered. Now Rutherford in Goldfield experiment noticed that atom is largely empty space, but there is a center of the atom, and it consists of positively charged particles, and these particles he named them as a protons. So later on it was believed that the channel rays of hydrogen atom or canal rays of our hydrogen atoms are based on protons. So in this way, Goldstein basically discovered the protons inside the cathode ray tube experiment. Now, interesting question here is that, dear student, the any positive ray which is produced inside the cathode ray tube, is it proton or it is not proton? The student, please keep in mind, cathode positive rays which are produced by hydrogen atom is known as canal rays. Okay, if we suppose the helium atom has a nucleus with two protons and two neutrons, and two electrons are somewhere revolving inside in the orbit or shell of the helium atoms. So now helium atom has two protons and two neutrons. So the when the cathode rays basically fall on the helium atom, interact with the helium atom will basically convert into ion, and nucleus of the helium atom, which will be a positive charge, will be based on two proton and two neutron. So as a whole, these are two different particles inside the nucleus of the helium atom, so it will be just only a positive ray, or it will be a canal rays or channel rays, but it will never be called as a protons. Whereas in case of hydrogen atom, hydrogen has a nucleus with only one proton. Okay, it has no other particle in it, and as well as one electron. So one cathode rays with negative charge fall on the hydrogen atom, then it will be converted into electron and as well as nucleus of hydrogen atom, and it will only have a one proton. Okay, and due to this, the cathode the protons rays or protons are only produced from hydrogen atom, whereas all other atoms, if they produce canal rays, these canal rays will be only a positive rays, but they will never be called as protons. So dear student, this is all about the discovery of protons. So let us summarize this Goldstein discovery of proton. Dear student, Goldstein performed cathode ray tube experiment. In cathode ray tube, Goldstein used a perforated cathode and as well as a solid anode. He applied and the cathode ray tube was filled with hydrogen gas. When Goldstein applied high potential around 5 kV to 50 kV, he noticed that the cathode rays were produced from the perforated cathode that traveled toward the anode. However, in the way these cathode rays interact with hydrogen molecules, and hydrogen molecule basically split into a negative hydrogen ion with two electron and as well as the nucleus of hydrogen atom, which was proton. The negative ion of hydrogen atom and as well as the cathode ray, they were just or they have a same negative charge that travel toward the opposite charge, positive charge, which was anode, whereas the proton which were left inside the cathode ray tube, they are positive charge. They travel through the perforated cathode and strike on the fluorescent screen. The fluorescent screen glow up with reddish brown glow, and this reddish brown glow, Goldstein called it as canal rays or channel rays. However, later on, with the Rutherford Goldfile experiment, Rutherford concluded that majority of an atom is an empty space. However, the center of an atom is called nucleus, and it has positive charge, and these positive charge are called protons. So Goldstein, the canal rays which were produced by hydrogen atom, Goldstein called them that these rays are protons. So in this way, protons were discovered by Goldstein cathode ray tube experiments. So dear student, thank you for watching this lecture.